Now, after Arsenal were beaten 1-0 by Liverpool on Sunday, White and Jordan were joined by the former Gunners double winner Manu Petit for his reaction, and he's not a fan of what he's seeing from Mikel Arteta at the moment.
Okay, you brought some players, important players, but I don't want to see, because Mikel is Spanish, I don't want him to go step by step even further, to the like of what Enrique has done, a few years ago with the national team, in Spain, or even Guardiola sometimes when he was trying to do with City, it was quite bored to watch. And I just want them, to don't forget that if you want to win games, you have to go and kill them.
McCoist, a lot of people are looking at that Arsenal performance at Liverpool and saying they're boring. And I thought, well, we'll turn the clock back one game. Arsenal beat Leeds 5-0. Look at last season. Didn't they beat Man City 5-1? Didn't they beat Palace 5-1? Didn't they beat West Ham 5-2? I mean, this is not a boring side.
It's not, mate. It's not. And I was listening to Danny Murphy yesterday, and I agree with Danny. I think some of the level of criticism that Arteta and his Arsenal side have taken from the weekend is slightly over the top. I mean, what else could he have done? He could have played Eze instead of Mourinho. I get that. Effectively, Jeff, the way his team played in the first half, you wouldn't have got too many complaints, I don't think, from Arsenal supporters at half-time. And then they're a brilliant goal away from a more than acceptable result at Liverpool. Yes, they could have. I think he did go and try and win the game, by the way. When he makes his substitutions, when he puts Odegaard on and Eze on, he does go and try and win the game. But the level of criticism effectively levelled at him for not starting Eze, because that's the only thing he would have done, I think slightly over the top.
Yeah, and I agree. And people are calling them boring. Well, look, I tell you what, when Odegaard, Eze and a fit again, Saka are in that side, nobody's going to be calling them boring. Let's move on to the main story of deadline day. Crystal Palace skipper Mark Guehi's move to Liverpool collapsing at the last minute. Former Reds midfielder Danny Murphy reckons he probably needed to behave similarly to Isak and Wissa if he wanted his move.
Every player's individual, and Guehi's supposed to be a great lad, so respect to him for the way he's conducted himself. What I'm saying is, the way football is sometimes, this opportunity is now might never come again. There's a possibility of that.
I get what you're saying.
Now, sometimes an opportunity comes to you in life where you have to do whatever it takes to get to that place, in whatever way you look at it.
Yeah.
He didn't. He decided, I'm going to keep playing, do the right thing. He made it easy for Palace to keep him. If he'd have kicked up a stink a couple of weeks ago, already out the team, telling Parish, if you don't let me have this opportunity, which might never come to me again, all the things that Isak's done, Wissa's done.
Danny encouraging Mark Guehi to have behaved in the same way. It is ironic, isn't it? The Guehi behaves impeccably, doesn't get his move, and Isak and Wissa, who refuse to play, refuse to train, and they do get their moves. Let's get the thoughts of somebody who knows exactly how to get players what they want. Former Barnsley and Sheffield United player turned football agent Brian Howard. Morning, Brian.
Morning, boys. How are we?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. So, look, player power in the headlines, obviously, mainly due to Isak and Wissa as well. Has player power always been a thing in the game when it's come to transfer windows?
I think so. I think it's how much power you have. I don't think you would do it if you weren't getting advised from maybe the people in your corner. They might be getting advice from the buying club. You've got to be 100% confident that that deal will get done. I mean, both of these got done right on the deadline day. But to then, if they didn't happen, for these lads to then be integrated back into their group, into their team, I think that's really difficult to walk back into a dressing room.
How much influence do the agents have then, Brian? I mean, I'm not saying in these two specific cases, but are there agents out there advising players, how to behave, how they should force a move through?
Yeah, the agents will obviously advise, but at the end of the day, you work for the player. You work for the client, so you've got to do what he wants. But also, then the advice will come from, you've got to be so confident as an agent that if you're getting your player to do that, you've got to deliver. You are 100% have to deliver.
I mean, in the situation like the Mark Guehi situation, I mean, from the perspective of an agent, how do you look upon that? Has the agent, and I honestly don't know who his agent is, has the agent let him down by not getting the deal through earlier?
I don't think so. I think obviously the two massive ones that everyone's talking about is Visser and Isak.
Yeah.
Then everyone's talked about Guehi. Guehi's been professional. He has been superb. You watched him the other night, scored a fantastic goal even after the game, with the fans. And I think he deserved to get that move. And you talk about player power. All of a sudden, it looks like there's manager's power on this side. And Glasner's turned around and said, from the reports, obviously, I'm not privy to those conversations. If he's gone, then I'm gone. But for me, that's completely unfair for someone who's acted so professional to be not being able to leave on deadline day in a World Cup year to go to what looks like Liverpool are building something incredible and competing at, I know Palace are in Europe, but competing at the top level. I think that's really, really unfair on the player.
Well, what do you make of the money spent in the Premier League this transfer window, Brian? I mean, it's a phenomenal amount.
Yeah, it's insane. Obviously, we hear relentlessly about PSR and financial rules and salary cap rules as you go down the EFL. With every deal have to be put into the salary cap management protocol thing now. So it's incredible that the money can be spent. But then I think that maybe deals get done that shouldn't get done. You look at players getting moved on, to balance the books, and especially homegrown talent maybe not getting opportunity because they're 100% profit. So I think some of those rules, I heard someone speaking about it yesterday, that they could change in the future. But for that money to be spent, it's obviously great for the game. It will filter down to all the different levels and keep building, obviously, the game in this country.
So Brian, bearing in mind all the headlines about Isak and Wissa, do you fear that in future transfer windows, more players will see this as a way forward, withhold their labour, if you like?
Yeah, I think so. That we as an agency, have had a pretty good window. Unfortunately, there was a couple extras that we want to do that couldn't get done. Now, obviously, we've got to pick up the pieces now the window's shut, and you already start looking forward to January. Now we start thinking, will players now start acting and saying, well, actually, I should have got a move there. What if I act like this coming in January? What if I act like this for next summer? So I think it's the type of characters you look after as well. There's many different characters in a dressing room, as obviously Ali would tell you better than me, doing both sides of it. So it's just managing the players correctly. But you've got to have the power on your side to get the deal done, work with the clubs well, and ultimately do what's best for the player.
Brian, here's one for you, mate. It's something that we've learned in the last month or so, that, particularly from a player's point of view and an agent's point of view, you cannot leave anything to chance. There's no such thing now, whether it's right or wrong, there's no such thing as a gentleman's agreement, and everything should be put down in a contract.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you might have listened to the same thing that I saw of Christian Perslow talking about that yesterday. And obviously, I've dealt with him before when he was at Aston Villa. Really good guy, really clever. And I agree with kind of what he was saying, because a lot of the time is you do get on well with clubs. You have good agreements. And when the player's doing well and he's flying and he's under contract and everything's rosy, these gentleman agreements are great. And then all of a sudden, if one thing goes wrong, if the player wants to go, there doesn't seem to be a gentleman's agreement. So, you talk about release clauses, you talk about exit clauses. It's always difficult when you're signing contracts, when you're committing yourself to a club to already think, I need an exit strategy. If you're signing you talk about the most famous one of this window, he's on a 3-year contract. If you negotiated a 3-4 year contract and said, oh, but by the way, I want to get out next year, it muddies the water a bit. So they're really tricky conversations, but I think it's set precedent this window with those high profile deals. But there'll be the same sort of deals right the way throughout the Premier League and the EFL for sure. But it's not as publicised. So I think that as an agent and talking to players and clubs, I think those kind of things will have to be put into contracts in the future to avoid this.
So, Brian, as an agent, are you glad it's all over? Is it off to the Caribbean for a month now?
I wish, mate. I wish. Yeah, we've still got bits to do. Obviously, the pressurised deals of the deadline yesterday have finished. We even had a couple yesterday that didn't get done on deadline because bids came in late and people couldn't travel for medicals or couldn't get there in time. So you have the fallout from that. But then you also, that some players aren't moving. You then start negotiations for new contracts. So we've got a few of them to do. And then we've also got some young players that will need to get out into the National League and get some experience. So it doesn't stop, Jeff, I'm afraid.
Brilliant. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brian.
Pleasure, guys. Good to speak to you.
A quick text here. Not all players have the disrespect for their parent clubs that Isak has and can be undermined by dirty tactics from the Big Six. Mark Guehi is an honourable player who loves Palace. Carlos Baleba is an honourable player who understands that Brighton have given him the opportunity and will let him move on at the right time. Former professional footballer turned agent Brian Howard there.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.